Alright, hello everybody, XCompWiz here. We're going to be working on more D&D today. Just getting everything set up, so I'm still kind of on a standby screen here. The last thing I did on stream, I think, was to work some on the spell builder stuff and whatnot. And we had most of that working pretty well. There was one thing that I'd suggested making a better variation on a few things. I actually went through and did a couple of those. But I haven't yet finished all of them. So let's see, we'll go ahead and flip over so you can see. That should be right. Okay, and with me today is Lyra. Mother Lyra is here with us.
Hello.
She's very quiet today.
Some of you I know were in my live stream last night, and so you probably can guess why I'm quiet.
Okay. So, looking at this, I obviously didn't fix this yet. Just comment that out. Now, looking through, or what I was commenting on here, the biggest problem with this particular thing is that the count here doesn't handle well. If the count increases in size later, those spells won't really exist. Furthermore, if it decreases, then it's got extra properties that won't invalidate properly. Or actually, they will invalidate properly, but they can just wind up sticking around. They're still there. So really, this is kind of a flawed model for this particular thing. My model here, and let's see, I really wish I had some kind of diagram application I can show what's going on. My model here is that I have compounds that have properties, and the properties have builders and a value assigned to them. If the value is null, then it builds it. And the builder can actually return a builder, and it will be executed again, or a container, which will, the object will be stripped out of the container and put into here. So this works very well, actually. It's a pretty neat system, and it works very well for flat objects or compounds that are of one dimension. But at the point where we start having sub-properties or properties with properties, then things start getting more complicated. Hello, chat! Chat is starting to send me hellos. So that would mean that this system may not actually work for complex objects like scrolls or even most magical items. Very simple ones like potions work okay because they're pretty straightforward. They're very flat things. Wands may even work because they usually only have one spell. But at the point where, say, on a scroll you have more than one spell on it, or if you had a staff, particularly if you wanted to build complex staffs instead of just the ones you can generate randomly out of the book, then it gets more complicated. It won't handle quite as well. So we may actually need to change how the system works. For now, we'll look briefly at what I've been doing and what I did to the code that you haven't seen. Previously, I'd had this line in several places, but now I've just done it like this so that I can have create aligned, we'll use it in different places. So I don't have to have so much code duplication. It's a little easier to put it together. And this was particularly done because I needed to do this. One of the problems with what I did before was those probability numbers that are in here are random. I just kind of put together some things real quick on the stream because I didn't feel like pulling all the numbers out of the book. But I've actually gone through and done that since. I grabbed all these, or I went through and I calculated or grabbed all the high numbers of the rolls and figured out the probabilities for each one within its level. So we take all the 2s, these sum together to be 100. Yes, excellent. We're doing well. But that means I need to reconstruct this line. So we're going to do that. I'm going to grab a model. Keep text only.
Hello there, people who've joined us, Green, X-Poison, and Brethren.
Most of this is Arial. That's incumbent. Let's change that. Normal. Now it's all in Arial. Interesting.
No, Brethren, I don't think I am at least.
All right. Hello, Frost. Good to see you. Okay, whoops. I always do that. Let's do that one. There we go. Now I need to build basically this thing. So we're going to have register spell, and then that plus builder. That should be in quotation marks actually. So go comma period. The chat is making bad puns at me now. I do appreciate bad puns, actually.
Bad puns are wonderful.
Okay, then we just need the probability. Another comma, space, just because I like nice formatting. The level, space, and then this next bit will be a little tricky. We'll go through and handle these create a line in a moment. But then we just want the names. We're going to do an interesting thing here. I want quotation marks to be in this so that it will be quotation mark acid splash. Lots of quotation marks. And then that, comma, yep, market price, and then we wrap it all up with this. And hey, we did it! Except I've also got an extra thing there. I don't need that, really. That's only if we're doing create a line. Okay. Let's see here. So that'll handle most of it. That should be right for the vast majority of it. There's these things now which we need to handle. Okay. Let's try building that. We can inject an if here. So if I need the string function for contains. That didn't work. Let's try it from here. String function, string function, string function. I'm missing it. Text. Okay, fine. Yes, this is indeed a DM spreadsheet. I am indeed a DM.
I'm hoping to convince XComp once he's done with this program to turn it into an Android app so I may abuse it.
I don't think it'll take much convincing because I'd like to make an Android app so I can use it at the table. Yeah, really.
That's more picking the easy targets.
Where's find? But yeah, at the moment we're working on, or we're going to reconstruct this particular line for all of these, and then replace them in code, because I've got them here, so that they have the right probabilities, because the ones in the code are random, they're not right. I'm assuming you're making it so you can calculate the probability of each spell. Yes, in terms of scrolls and other written spells. It's all basically the same thing. It's only the only place where that's used in the core mechanics is scrolls, but I'd also like to use it for writing spell books, which we'll get to later, hopefully. Okay, so let's see here. I was supposed to be doing an if found thing. Find might be right. Search, find text within text, returns the number of the character. That might work.
I've got some things I need to take care of really quick over here. I may be quiet for a while, but I will be certainly watching the chat. I don't think this group will abuse things too much, but be nice, guys.
We'll still be here. Good luck with your stuff. V lookup. No, I don't think there was a V lookup. But just lookup, no. What was find? Returns the starting position of one text string within another text string. Find is case sensitive. How is that different from search? Reading left, right, not case. Okay, it's not case sensitive, and this one gives you a start number. So really, this was just kind of an advanced form. All right, so I guess we can just use this. Let me try it. Find text. Chaos, evil, good, law. The thing is, I'm going to have to be very careful in my ordering there. Hey, I'm good. Okay. So we want to find that. And we're going to try and find it within this text. Okay. Value! That's interesting. Maybe we'll try it with find. Still value. What's wrong? Oh yeah, that's going to be useless. The Excel help is completely useless. Show calculation steps. One step! Restart. Alright, so step in. Alright, we've got that. Acid splash. We're supposed to find that. And we're apparently not finding... I would expect it to return -1 or something like that if... That's interesting looking. Little blip on the screen. There you go. Okay. What else did we have? More text functions. Place. Well, that's one option, but not really what we want. It will be necessary at some point, I think. Substitute. How is that different from replace? This is existing text with new text to text string. Places part of the text string with a different text string. Oh, okay, this is location based, and this is replacing an existing text substring thing. Okay, well we need that. Um, well, this is interesting. I'm getting errors. Why? Let's try it just this. Still get that. Let's find one that actually contains... There we go, so it works. Okay, so it returns an error if it doesn't find it, which is problematic. I really wanted to determine if it has that particular thing, so... If error! Okay, so search this text. I'm going to search for chaos, evil, good, law. Within this text, value with error. We'll go with -1. Because that should not be possible to return. Okay, I don't know why this isn't counting. Make it just a normal number there. Okay, so we now have this. We can actually say that. And then somewhere down here, see, 17 here. Excellent. Okay, so it's really just kind of using this as an if statement. So here was the name. Okay, good. That is the correct thing I need to replace. So value of false is actually E2. Otherwise, it's going to return as a location. That's not really useful. That means we'll get 17 here, which will look weird. I really want to get a true-false thing. Oops. I'm going to have to copy that out again. What are you watching? You are currently watching work on trying to... We're generating tools for Dungeon Masters. Yeah, Dungeon Master aid things. Specifically, we're trying to build a line of code, or several lines of code, for this program. We've already got those lines in here. We're just modifying them slightly. And yeah, we're making my life easier. And potentially the life of every DM out there. Or at least some of them. But I've got a system here that generates items, at least some of them. It handles scrolls. At the moment, the scrolls are handled very well. Mage Hand, Ray of Frost, yeah, they're all in here. Every spell in the entire book should be in here, I think. These lines are pretty interesting in that they're basically just data injection. You would normally frown on this, but this is actually a prototype system, so I don't mind too much if I'm just kind of injecting data in by functions. Especially if I have a function that actually handles it. I could just pass things in. Normally I'd like to load it in by file. Once it's working, it really should just generate items. That's what this particular tool does. But it could tell you more things. Not sure what all. At the moment, we're just playing with making it generate stuff. Okay, so at the moment, if it does find something, this is just for Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 at the moment, and it is just an item generation system, basically. Okay, so this will work. Nothing's actually changed here, except for the cases where it actually contains this text string. If it does, then it will return a number. That's not helpful. This really isn't the way I wanted to do this. I wanted a value. I wanted to be able to control the value otherwise. We might actually inject it here, because an if statement in here will actually error if this is an error. Equals 0. It's greater than 0, just on the safe side. Value if true, value if false. There. So value if true is another concatenate statement. This one containing create, aligned, that, semicolon, e2, route, and then this. Close. No, we don't want this with a comma. And this also points out we don't want these here. We want here. So basically, we're getting the concatenate statement again. Now a multi-line thing here. This is getting fun. I wonder if I should just handle this in the basic way and then parse it otherwise. Probably. We'll do that. Because this particular function is workable. Okay, so that's most of it. Let's pull up this. Drop this back down. Drop them all in here. And now I have somewhere in here this. And now I can just use regular expressions. Let's see here. Done. And this will be A to Z. This could actually be to Z. I think that'll work. This is a little wide. See about shrinking it down so it's that's the wrong way. Oh no! I just closed the chat! I can't see the chat! It's okay, I can open it back up again. There we go. I've lost anything anybody has said recently, but I'll have it back in a moment. I'll be able to see what you say now. Okay, I can see you now. Alright. We'll also contain commas and potentially apostrophes and potentially slashes, which may need to be escaped. Maybe. Find. And then replace it with this way, 1. Create aligned. Okay, that should be right. Replace. Yay! That worked fine. Go place. We didn't find anything else. Except I'm sure there's something else in here. Especially like right there. Fine. Not finding it. So why not? What's different here? Oops. That beep is annoying. Alright, well for the moment, is it possible that the order is different? Chaos, evil, good, law? No, it's the same. Very curious. Very curious indeed. It actually contains spaces. It's the space. Yeah, somebody just pointed out in chat. Good timing. Alright, find! Okay, so yeah, now we're good. Place it in the document. I'm tired of looking at each individual one. We seem to be working okay. Okay, protection from energy we don't actually have to split because that's a different thing. You can actually choose the time of casting what energy it will work against. So it's not something decided at the time of making the scroll. All right. So these should be what we need. We'll go back to our code now. And we'll replace all this with what'll look just about identical, aside from these numbers here. There! Hypothetically, nothing else changed. Hypothetically. Seems to be the same. So good. Okay, if we run it now, then we get a pile of coins because we're running the wrong thing. Build the scroll. I used the coin builder earlier. Okay, so we get major item, scroll, dry length of parchment, that's what that says over there. We got a divine, 4 spells. Spell 1, it's level 5. Spell value was this. Was it commune? And our next spell was inflict critical wounds, inflict serious wounds. That's fun. And flame strike. That also sounds like fun. We run it again. We get an arcane scroll with hypnotic pattern and spider climb. Okay, so we can get spells very easily now. The actual scroll builder is over here, and we're really just setting up a property builder spell. And it just does this. So it gets the parent compound of the spell, so the scroll here is what's being used. And then it creates a compound that will be the value. And it sets all the properties to be different things. And it actually ties them to builders here. So that's how the subcompound system works. Works okay. As we see here, it generates spells of scrolls very well. The main limitation is if later on I want to change the count, I can't. It is fixed once it's done. And that is problematic in terms of the whole design of the system was to be able to handle regenerating the items on the fly later on. So if I decided, actually I don't like this spell, I could force this spell to regenerate. Or if I liked everything about the spell, but which spell it was. Like, level 8, that's good, that's fine. We can stick with a level 8 spell. Just give me another one. Or if I went, actually, I want it to be an arcane scroll. And I just set this to arcane, and everything else would invalidate and regenerate. That would work for the most part, except if I decided, actually, I just want 4 spells. Or if I said I want there actually be 6 spells in the scroll. If I was generating a really strange scroll and said there was 10 on it. Or if I went, actually, I'm using this to generate a spell book, so there's 100 pages. Or whatever. Yes. For those entering the stream now, this is, we're working on the item generation system I've been working on for D&D 3.5. D&D is Dungeons & Dragons. We've just updated the data, or fixed some of the data, and now we're looking at how to actually fix the system. Because this is a prototype system, it's basically on the fly, what works, what doesn't work. We're going to see where this is actually going. Okay, this is some results. Development projects, this is some old projects and things. Where are we now? No, it's actually in here. Item builders. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to commit the changes I've made here so we can actually do whatever we like to. This is the system, and I don't have to worry about it going away or what I want it to do. Okay, I'm going to make this so I can still see chat. Alrighty, so let's see here if I can get the folder. Alright, almost set. Just have to mark one thing was ignored and we'll be good. Just ignore. Alrighty, there we go. That's nice and green here. We're all updated. Go away. Okay, now we can completely tear apart the system and do whatever we feel like doing to it. To this end, we're going to try a slightly different model, possibly. The current model is that we have a compound and it contains properties with self-building, or yeah, it contains self-building properties, or properties that are not built until they're queried, meaning the value of something isn't necessarily set until I try and get it. We could try a different model for some things, especially for scrolls, in that we run it through a factory, a builder. Basically, this is a design pattern thing. Factories, I might be able to, no. I could try pulling this up on Wikipedia. Recursion. Let me see my own stream. All right, for a moment I'm going to put this up so that we don't have any weird issues or whatever. I want to make sure I also don't give anything away, because I think I've got some tabs open for Mistcraft. I don't want to reveal any of my secrets. We'll do this. Open up a new thing. All right. So let's go to Wikipedia. And we're going to look up design patterns. Obviously, this is someplace I've been before. I've actually taught these things. I need to be able to reference it quickly. And I've referenced it many times. So let's see here. Where is factory? There we go. Factory method. I don't see the diagram I was really hoping to find. We also want to look at builder, because they're very similar. The main difference, what do you say? Well, they're often combined is one of the things. The factory is kind of an abstraction. It is an abstract object that produces an object for us. So basically we don't care how the factory works, it's just a face. And we say, give me this, and it does. And it gives you a specific kind, though you may not know. So one instance of factory is if you're building, for instance, GUI objects. You want the GUI object to work on the system you're on, so it has to build a custom particularly designed GUI object that works with that system. But you don't want to know necessarily how that works or what factory is actually doing that. So you'd have the appearance of the factory, what it looks like, and it just says it builds a GUI element. And then the GUI builder is actually some other instance. The definition is different. And it builds that, and it produces the product. The product will usually have an interface as well that we can look at in a particularly abstract way. Builders are a different thing. They're basically, it's a multi-step process for building an object. So you have the director that keeps track of the different builders involved and runs through them, and they've all got this basic interface that you can just pass in the objects you need to, and it does the output, do stuff. I've been speaking very eloquently today. And the actual implementation is, again, somewhere else. That's kind of very theoretical computer science stuff for those of you that are actually interested. So we're looking more at a builder system. But it is kind of an extension of factories and whatnot. But what we might do, instead of having the factory or the builders here produce something with the compounds, like this one's an item builder, which is a little different from a property builder. Like, we'll go here. Property builder returns a property, whatever. The item builder is intended to set up an item with different properties. We could try resolving that system, but what I mean by that is making it so there's just one system in which we have a list of builders in a particular order, and they operate on the compound and produce that compound consistently, or can validate if that compound is producible by these builders. One of the interesting properties of these builders that is a little hard to wrap your head around, too very odd in terms of most builders, is the output of the builder is not necessarily perfectly consistent. Given the same random object, the same random seed, or the same seed to the object, it should always produce the same object. It is consistent, it should be deterministic. But if you give it a different seed, it will produce something else. And that makes this odd and a bit difficult to validate. However, the way this currently is, each one needs to have the random number thing in the same order. If we changed it out to being a particular compound builder and then worked on it in a certain order, then the seed would be fixed for the item, and it would always generate the same way because we could just use that seed. So it's actually a much simpler thing. It unfortunately does not have quite the same level of exactness with the properties. I can't just regenerate the property itself individually. I have to say, okay, regenerate this item now. It's odd, and perhaps not as flexible as the current system, but it would handle these compound objects much better. So perhaps we'll try that. Okay, so now we can still have properties. We'll still treat properties the same way. We'll let them generate that way. So we'll have both systems in play for the moment. And then we'll actually keep a list of item builders. That's util list. Not currently used. We come to that. Actually, both of these systems won't play well together. Hello, chat. I am currently working on a system for generating objects or items for Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. The main concern, or what we're looking at the very moment, is compound objects like scrolls that have multiple things to them. We've got a system that generates them. Works pretty well. I'm actually reasonably happy with it. It'll generate objects fairly correctly. It'll give me good objects. The scrolls generated here are by the book, as it were. Unfortunately, it doesn't handle regeneration quite as well as I'd like. Particularly, I like to be able to set a property and then let it regenerate after that. So this is something I'd like to look at. Thinking about this, the builder system would have problems with allowing me to set things. If I set it and then run it through the builder system again later, it would actually set it back. So one thing we'd have to do, instead of just setting the property directly, we'd have to set the builder involved, which we'd actually have to replace the builder at a certain point to handle that. So this could get really complicated. Perhaps for the moment we'll work on something a little simpler. We'll go ahead and inject another item type. We close this down. And I can just move these around. Maybe. I can actually succeed in moving them in the order I want them. Okay. We're going to create one for staffs. And this will just be the basic one. New class. It'll just be the basic out of the book generate a staff thing. So item builder staff. And it implements item builder. So let's add, oh look, that's convenient. I'm not really presently looking to answer Mistcraft questions, but somebody's asking about current version of Forge with Mistcraft, and yeah, that's not going to work because Mistcraft was built against 2.4.7. So you can't use it with anything past 2.5.1. If you're having issues, you can try asking in the IRC channel. Alright, so let's copy this in, replace this staff. Okay. Now, Probably don't need most of this. It would actually be better to base it off of item builder potion, because that's very similar. The way this one worked, this is again something that needs some work on it. All of them do. Again, it's a prototype system. Nothing's going to be truly perfect. This is one I've had for a little while, so it works very well, and it's got everything to it. But there's at least some things like... okay, here we go. Magic circle against, and it really should be some form of alignment. It should be either evil or good, and it should have... the potion should specify which one it is. So I need to specify a better builder here. I haven't done that yet. And really, one step towards that would be, instead of passing that in, it would be an object. And this should work just fine as well. Nothing really changed there. Item builder potion. I'll go ahead and save staff. Proceed, because staff won't affect us here. Okay, we got the potion Cat's Grace. It's a minor potion. It's worth 30,000 coppers. In appearance, it's a thin gray liquid, and it tastes like pears. The flavor is very much something of my own. In the book, it actually suggests that you can have the potions taste in different ways, but it doesn't suggest any particular flavors. So it's just something you have to come up with as you go. Also, I have appearances for most of them. Okay, so we kind of want to model off of this one. Now, before anybody gets worried, I've already done the tables here. So we don't have to worry too much about that. And it's very short. There's just a few things here. So it should be very easy to do this. We won't need those. Yeah. Go. Okay. Register item to this builder. We won't have appearance and flavor either. The name, the value, and these are interesting in that they will have these advanced compounds. We'll build another scroll here just so I can refer to it. Yeah, go for it. Okay, it'll have this advanced compound stuff. We'll have lots of subcompounds with what spells, what charge levels it can do. But that's not something that's part of the generation. So we can play with it without actually having to worry about how it generates. All right. I don't need those. I need them from here. Oops. Okay. Zap all that. That should be... yeah. Okay, looks good. We'll do a bunch of these. So, charming. Very charming stuff. Its value. Let's see here. What is... yeah. Its value is very high. And again, these are in coppers because I do all my generic systems in coppers. And then the probabilities are 15 medium and 3 major. We'll copy this in here. And then we'll try actually building this particular thing again. So concatenate register item this comma multiple quotation marks, so I can get a quotation mark in there. That multiple quotation marks again, comma the value. Oops, I have to close it off. Comma null null medium and major. Now that, yep, that should work fine. The one thing we have to do is handle this. So if this is greater than 0, then this. Otherwise, null. There we go. Now we also get nulls in there. Okay, that was quick. Let's try generating a staff. Maybe. Hey, we didn't get anything. Why didn't we get anything? Let's see here. Well, for one thing, it was minor. We can't possibly have a minor staff. They're at the very least medium. So one thing I did over here to make this work better. If it's mundane, or in here we'll just get mundane or minor. Then it should generate again. Okay, we got a healing, divination, defense. All right, so we can generate staffs. Huzzah! Necromancy. Ooh, those are fun. Life. All right, so all set. That worked very well, except for one thing. I put these numbers in wrong. These are supposed to be how many counts of it. It should actually sum to 0 instead of doing like this. So this is the table. So what I should actually do, duplicate some of this down here. Equals this minus that. Can't do that one. All right, so now they're actually values. That's better. I was making it so you were going to have really good odds of generating power there. Shouldn't have that good odds, unfortunately. We're also going to have really low odds of generating charming, ever. Okay. So that's good. We're done. We've finished that one. Kind of. Now, as far as the current system goes, this is how this works. What this registration system does here is it just creates or puts into the name builder these particular instances. And the value builder is keyed off of the name, so it gets the value based on which staff we got. So if we got charming, then it sets the property of the value to that. All right. What else do we have? So one of the systems one of the things I was basing off of is here documents, D&D, treasure. Okay, this might look familiar to some of you. This was the treasure generation I did week ago, or perhaps 2 weeks ago. I'm no longer sure. And basically we generated whatnot they got from killing the bandit lords and some of their guards. Obviously all the stuff on them was taken into account, plus about their gold worth, and that was how we did treasure. So we generated stuff down here past this point to kind of balance that out. Then I calculated the sell value of everything they didn't keep. That was that. And they got a whole lot of stuff. This is platinums, platinum pieces, gold pieces, silver pieces, and copper pieces. So they got this is what they had in their party pool. This does not include their personal wealth. And that's what we added to it. It's crazy. Okay. All right, so let's see here. What would we like to do next? Instead of going through and changing how the system works, because that's complicated, and I probably can't do that one on a stream. I've discovered that anything that requires a sufficient level of thought, or significant level of thought, is difficult to do while streaming. It's difficult for me to talk and try and code at the same time. One of the things that was a real pain to generate was weapons. It was a multi-step process. I had to figure out what kind of weapon it was, what level of properties it had, if it had extra things, what those extra things were. It turned out to be a two-bladed sword, which is a particular thing and had a particular value, and then all the value together went to this. So this looks like a good way to construct it, but unfortunately the current system doesn't handle that well. It's too flat. Again, it would really want to say, okay, the object's first property is this, and the object is also a this, and it is a two-bladed sword as its weapon type, and then the value is this. It doesn't really have a thing for subvalues. So really, one method, and probably a better method than anything, is to turn every object into a compound thing. Let it have these things, and then let the higher level sum them up or handle them in some way. So this is a good way of looking at it as well. For the scrolls, the process is actually written down here, I think. Here. We decide to scroll, we get the rank, get the spell type, or spell count, spell type, and then we create the compound, create a compound for every spell we're going to have. So this was kind of my representation of the object compound. And that means that every spell has a value, and then the actual scroll's value is the sum of those. The current system doesn't handle that, which is problematic. It means I have to do it myself, which is okay, because it's still less work than I normally have to do myself. All right, let's see here. We've already got a thing for generating gems, got a thing for generating art. Random stuff like locks, candles, thieves' tools, not particularly. Or whetstone. The wand of light, we could do wands, but that's, again, that's pretty much the same as staffs. It mostly just requires inputting the data, which is a thing, and it takes time to do, but it's not really interesting to do. It's pretty much just clerical work. And then while the weapons might be interesting, again, the current system's too complicated. Or it's too complicated to do for the current system. So I'm not really sure what to do with this. Do we have any suggestions? Does anybody in chat have a particular suggestion for what we should be able to generate? Because as Lyra pointed out earlier, this is probably going to become some kind of Android application, so you can just go, give me a minor object, or give me a scroll, or give me a weapon, give me a scroll with these spells, and generate the last one, kind of thing. Or maybe it will also have things for helping you build the object yourself. So any suggestions are usually very helpful. You get a better idea of what the customer wants in this particular scenario. Because I pretty much know what I wanted to do. Well, what do you want to do? Is anybody up for trying to tackle the new complicated system? Figuring out how that works. A lot of that will probably be working in Excel and trying to design things. And then one option is we could generate scroll books, or spell books. Scroll books. So what do we think? Nobody seems particularly interested. That's sad. There's people watching me, but nobody's saying anything. All right. And Lyra is away, so I can't ask her. That would be convenient. Oh well. Chat says they're not sure what I mean, and I'm not sure what they didn't follow. That's always the problem with that particular statement. So let's see here. We can currently generate a good collection of things. We've got item, we can make coin piles based on values. We can make gems, we can make potions, we can make scrolls, art objects, stats, what we just added. I guess we could base off of scrolls and try generating books. That could be more interesting, so let's see here. We'll also reveal some more information for what all the advanced system or the next system needs to handle. Spellbook. Okay, so let's do that. On the stream, anytime I can just kind of modify some existing code, that's usually a good bet. Let's see here. One of the properties of a spellbook is it has 100 pages in it. That's just the fixed thing. In a book, it has 100 pages, because D&D says so. But this means that not all the pages will necessarily be filled, and we can only put so many spells in it. A spell actually takes up a number of pages equal to its spell level, whereas a 0th level spell will take up 1 page, a 1st level spell would take up 1 page, and then an 8th level spell would take 8 pages, 9th level 9 pages. You get the idea. So maybe we want filled pages. Okay. We can actually handle minor, medium, and major. That's actually kind of a neat idea. I hadn't really thought about it, but we also handle mundane. So how many pages would a spellbook have? I don't have rules for this. So we're going to... these dice bags I designed at one point can have a lot of properties to them. So we're going to add a should be a modifier. Set modifier, yeah. I'm going to set the base of it to 10 pages. So I'll actually 10 pages worth of spells in there. At least. Plus, let's add a bunch of d4s. That'll give us a pretty good number of spells. And then here, let's change them to 46s and make this 15. Is that too much? That seems a little imbalanced, actually. Most of the balance will actually come from the level, but from the level of spells it can generate. Let's drop this down to just 2 there. There we go. That's a bit more balanced. Again, I'm just playing with this really, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be very balanced. We're just toying with the system. Some d10s, no, let's make it fewer dice with larger numbers. Or maybe it should be the other way around. More dice with smaller numbers. That way we get a better minimum. And then the last one, set this to 15. A major spell book will have some extra things. Okay. Just some numbers to throw in. Okay. Now then, the biggest thing is we can only generate spells up to the point that we fill the book at most. Whereas this is the maximum number. It is not the minimum number of spells in the book. So we'll actually change this to yeah, that's fine. Filled pages, yeah. I'll give us the number of spells. Except that's not the number of spells, the number of filled pages. This is complicated. What would really be convenient is we actually just have them as things we could iterate through. A set compound. We can do that. It's a little more interesting. But we can certainly do that. Anyway, while no, we'll leave this for and well, filled pages isn't generated this way. Filled pages is dependent upon the number of spells we generate. So that means we need to get this property again. Actually need to get the property such that get or generate, and then from there that should actually give us another compound. And we'll get the property, we need to look at our builder for that now. Of spell level. Here. That gives us that. To answer again for chat, we are coding a system for generating items for D&D. Currently we're working on spellbooks. Yes, chat does understand. Good job, brethren. Okay, so filled plus equals this. No, it's fine. Welcome. Let's see here. So the actual while part of this for loop, we want filled to be less pages. It's equal to pages, then we did fantastically well. Well, see, here's a tricky bit. We generate I'm kind of curious what the maximum of this is now. Maybe I need to be able to set my bags a maximum value. We'll print out what the maximum possible value is because I don't feel like calculating it. It will tell me the next time we run this. All right, this is returning to me a property. Get property, get or generate. Here's a tricky thing. You want to pass in this. And then we convert the whole thing to an integer. We hope. This does not work well. This does not look good. I don't like the way this is playing out here. So, well, this will give us the number of pages we filled. If filled is greater than pages, or filled is greater than 100. Uh-oh, hard-coded number. That's not good. Hard-coded numbers are basically never good inside of a system here. Okay, so let's see here. We're going to, at this point, remove the one we just got, which is easy. Just set the property to null. And then we set this property to filled, which we should actually remove this of. So we're actually going to break this into 2 bits. I'm not currently working on Mistcraft. I'm working on a tool for generating items in Dungeons & Dragons. Let's see here. There we go. Now I can do this. And we'll be done. We need to set null. That means this can't be rebuilt. It's fixed as this, which is again a problem. It's not a very good thing. I'd like to be able to say, actually, I want a few more. Can you regenerate that? Or maybe I didn't like how many actually filled. Please try again. Okay. There we go. Change it to spellbook. And run it and see what happens. We crash. That's what happens. No pointer exception, I would imagine. Yes, no pointer exception. Okay, so the output here was 56. So the maximum of this is actually 56. That's good. We can definitely work with that. It is okay to declare cur every time, especially since it's a prototype system. I can break the rules. Also, Java compilers, in fact most compilers, tend to be very intelligent. And it would look at this and go, heh, silly programmer. And it would move it out here. So I wouldn't actually be declaring it every time. Or the code wouldn't. Because the compiler would be smart enough to move it. It doesn't actually make a difference most of the time. If you're working on a particularly old or stupid compiler, then yes, you should move it out here. Alright, so we got a null pointer exception. I'm not particularly surprised. So what were we trying to get? I'm not sure. This is hard to try and break out, so maybe we'll split it into pieces. First, we'll get a compound that is the spell. Do that. So spell.get property spell level, get or generate. Use spell again. Save and run it again. Cancel. It doesn't like something. I've probably failed a... There we go. Syntax error. And we'll get to this point, and we got spell exists. It's daylight. It's a divine spell. That's weird. That shouldn't be possible. Spell type. You can't have spell books of divine spells. That doesn't make sense. So Arcane. No, cannot be rebuilt. Should exist. Oh, this should be the other way around. Okay, that's fine. That just means I've done this backwards. True. Yeah, that's what you get for not checking, huh? Alright, so what's our spell this time? We got Ray of Exhaustion. Well, that means this spell exists. When we get the property spell level, what do? We can watch this, or create a watch for this. We get an object. It's property.
Hooray, object.
Yay, Lyra's back.
Yes, that's a little bit longer than I thought it might, but I'm back.
That's fine. I'm sure the chat is glad to see you're back, because I'm sure I'm terribly boring.
Me.
Alrighty, so let's see here. This actually has a value. It's 3. So we won't have to get it, or we won't have to generate it when we go through. Now the value is null. Oh, right. Yeah, we're okay.
We got up to 34 viewers.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
I have significantly more when I'm doing miscraft things or something more entertaining. D&D doesn't seem to attract very many people, but I'm not exactly...
Well,
It's the wrong
I can
crowd.
I can understand why miscraft things would attract more people, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I think the people that are retained by this are possibly the more interesting pool.
I would think so too, most of the time. The ones that are interested in D&D or just watching me code at random, they're probably fun people.
For our definition of fun, at least.
Yes. Alrighty, so let's see here. We're fine. We're going to have to generate at this point. What does spell say it is? Spell level is 4. Interesting. This says null still. I'm going to do this so I can see what cur actually winds up equaling. 3. Alright. 3. What is spell?
There you go.
Hello, iTunes. How are you?
Hello,
Yeah,
Archie.
just dropping in before I head to sleep.
Okay.
Hello all. So, XCOM,
Yeah?
gotta ask you this. I know we shouldn't really ask for ETAs, but when are you going to update new stuff? Because a lot of people have been coming to me.
They come to me
you know,
too.
Yeah.
I know what we say for Soren's mod or Zycraft. It's sort of becoming a big expanding joke. Is whenever they ask, especially during the live stream, we'll just go into announcer voice and say, Zycraft will be available in the next 5 minutes. For large donations of money, it will be available in the next 4 minutes. It's sort of a very humorous way to let people know that there is no ETA.
In this particular case, I actually intended to have it out now, and I've just been so busy with things and not able to work on it as much as I'd liked that it's behind. One of the big things is at the moment I'm in full swing for the instability rewrite, and I don't want to release that half-baked. Because
Yeah, I know what you mean.
that can really cause some problems. suppose the best course of action at this particular point is to try and wrap up at least the simpler or the quicker of the instability mechanics and make sure that my testing group has a build we can test with and play with and see how balanced it is and if they can actually play the game now. Because instability does make things harder. It's supposed to do. So it needs to be tested for game balance, and that takes a while. That's the biggest problem with it. So yeah, I'll be doing that. Okay. So what was I doing? Current. Fine. Continue. Fine. We seem to be okay. Yeah. We generated. That's not actually spell count. That's spell pages. Spell count is going to be something a little different. We probably do want to keep track of it. We want to keep track of which spells are in there because we're going to treat this like a set, even though it's not. So, count. We'll do it here, so we don't have to worry about decrementing it here. But set property spell count property count. We now have how many spells are in there. And I won't sit here and watch this for all of these anymore. Oops, I just executed another one. Now I get it. No. Alright. Okay, so the spell exists. Okay, lots of spells. Looks good. It's worked very well. That was interesting. I saw null down here. Who saw null? Spell level 1, minor, spell value, no. Protection from evil. I spy with my little eye a bug. Okay, so the problem here is this. What we're doing here is we're creating a more complex builder and binding it, or binding the complex builder to the value builder. That's problematic in that it's sorry?
Oh god, wall of text.
Yeah, lots of data. There's like 700 something lines here. These are all the spells in D&D 3.5. Alright, so let's see here. The problem is that it's mapping the name to the value. And in these cases, the mapping doesn't work because it's trying to map to this constructed object as opposed to the actual string value it winds up getting. So it gets null. Solutions for this vary. One option is to make it so that dispel evil, dispel good, dispel chaos, whatever, all map to this. What's another solution? I think I just had one, but I can't think of it now. We can change how that's done entirely. We can change this builder so that when it actually builds the name, oops, it actually also sets the value. But the way I have this set up, that wouldn't work real well because I have this as a generic type builder. These are just tiered builders. So perhaps the simplest method is to just bind the multiple names. That can be done down here. If I can figure out a way to get every one of them. So for string name in name set, we're going to build what name set is in a moment. So this will map to everything. Name set is going to be interesting. For most of the time, let's see here, make it array list. String set equals new there we go. And then import that. If object is an instance of string, oops, that should not be instance of, then nameset.add object converted to a string. Otherwise, if object is an instance of particularly a property builder selector, then we now want all the possible values. I don't have a thing for that. For the time being, we'll make this public, which I probably shouldn't do. Again, prototype, I can break the rules. And we'll say for string, again, name in property builder selector object values. I need to complete the cast before I can actually reference anything in there. All right. It's actually coming out as an object. We'll cast name to that, and that'll work. Ha! We still got null. What was null? I didn't see it as it went by there. I did it a couple times here. Not okay. There's the watch is working fine. So it really should be returning a value. There we go. Got one that time. We didn't get any protections from anything at this time. Oh, there it is. Magic circle against chaos. And the value bound correctly. So, good. That's fixed.
Hooray!
Alrighty. Let's see here. Seems to properly produce a spell book, which I'm both pleased and impressed about. This is one of, or with spells of levels you would expect for a particular quality one. We've got medium things, so it generated medium level spells. Okay, checking. I can't tell you what's going on. Perhaps if we go look at this. Hmm. Oh. We can't generate mundane spells, I don't think.
No.
That's really something I should have thought about. Alright.
Because of lack of planning.
Yep.
That's alright.
Let's see here. I will...
Hello, Will to Thrill.
Hello! Welcome. Well, we had earlier, we can do it again, this particular bit, which will prevent mundane items. And that should fix that particular issue. Protection from good. Sometimes you just don't want...
Protect me from the good.
Sometimes you just don't want that angel to hit you. This should actually be somebody's thing. This is one of those spells that's supposed to have a name attached to it, but for some reason my data doesn't have those names. So I should go
I've
through
got
this.
my book here, so I can look it up.
I believe this is Nice Duel's Black Tentacles. I actually fixed this the other night on a different version of this particular list, but okay. Actually, maybe not all of them change.
Only two I see the nice tool is magic aura and undetectable aura.
Sorry?
The only two I see on the nice tool is magic aura and undetectable aura.
Ah, okay. Who did Black Tentacles then?
I am looking.
I can help you out with the thing here. It's a 4th level spell.
Arcane, I assume?
Arcane, yes.
Everett.
Everard. Right. Alright. This is Leomund's tiny hut. Like I said, I did this the other night. I kind of remember some of the names. Let's see here. Basically anything that's out of alphabetical order here. Maybe I can conditional format based off of if they're in alphabetical order or not. Probably can, but it requires building a formula to determine which one's supposed to be after another. I'm going to go through the whole list. Do you happen to have an easy way to check which ones are which? I have all of Mordekainen's. I know those.
I can go through the spell list and find each of the names and just say what they have. It's not easy, but it'll work.
Actually pull out the DM guide. It has all the names, and they're capital letters. They're easy to spot. Alright, so let's see if we can fix this.
Up first is Bigby. Bigby has the clenched fist, the crushing hand, the forceful hand, the grasping hand, and the interposing hand.
Yes, Bigby had a thing for force hands.
He had a hand fetish, I suppose.
Helping hand? No, that's a divine spell. Divine spells don't have names. Mage
Correct.
hands. Cool. Burning hands?
Well, Burning Hands is its own. Bigby did not have Burning Hands.
Nope. Spectral hand. I don't think that's one either.
Not Bigby's, no.
Forceful hand is definitely one of Bigby's. Alright, so let's sweep up to the top.
There's one for Drawmij, D-R-A-W-M-I-J. He has instant summons.
Sorry, I kind of missed that one. Trying to find... There we go. Nice Fool's Magic Aura. I've actually managed to pull up my DM book here, and that means I have them in order. What'll appear on here? Floating Disc. Tensor's Floating Disc. One of my favorite spells when I played a wizard.
Black Tentacles is the only one that Everett has.
Okay. Let's see here. Leomund's tiny hut. No one too far along. Somewhere. This is Phantom Trap. This should actually be Leomund's Trap. Makes me wonder where I got my original data.
Indeed. Yeah, Leomund also has Secret Chest, Secure Shelter, Tiny Hut.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. We can go Acid Arrow here. There it is. That's Melts. Yes, I am kind of listening to the chat. Sorry, I'm looking between the computer screen and a book. The convenience of editing this document, it's not an open document, it's just Excel. is I can then convert it to these functions, which I can then inject into the code.
Mordenkainen has disjunction, faithful hound, lubrication, magnificent mansion, and sword.
Yes, I think I have all of his.
I still have magic aura and the undetectable aura, as said before.
Tasha's hideous laughter.
Ultimuk has freezing sphere, resilience sphere, telekinetic sphere. Otto has the irresistible dance.
Okay, let's go ahead and find that. Irresistible Dance. What was the name?
Otto, O-D-T-O.
Oh, right. And this one above it was actually something. I remember when I did this last night. Or it was the night before. 8th level arcane spell. Otilux. Telekinetic sphere.
Other gamers, he currently is working on a reference tool for Dungeons & Dragons version 3.5 to help dungeon masters in generating treasure. It seems our task for today is generating spellbooks.
We've actually already added a thing for generating staffs. It took all of like 5 minutes.
Ooh. Rary, R-A-R-Y, has the mnemonic enhancer and the telepathic bond. Yes, Tim, so that the DM can be more evil for much less effort.
Yes. That is usually something I put a lot of effort into, actually. It's one of the weird things about computer scientists. We spend hours trying to find ways to save time.
That would be interesting for gamers, a magic cast mod in Minecraft, especially if done to the level of reference as you find in Dungeons & Dragons.
Leomund's shelter. A little ways below that is Otiluk's resilient sphere. The libraries. I don't think I got all the big B's. Interposing hand. There we go. Secret chest is actually Leomund's.
Let's see. Tasha has a hideous laughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Tensor has a floating disc and his transformation.
Oops, transformation. Tensor's transformation.
And floating discs, be sure.
Yep. Had that one earlier. I remember that one offhand.
Cheers, then, guy. And that seems to be all the names I can find.
Okay. Where was I in my list here? It looks freezing sphere. Sixth level. Make sure we've got Bigby's grasping hand. Nope. Oh, there we go. Bigby's grasping hand. Somebody's instant summons. Actually, there it is. It was a lot of typing. It's been built over a long period of time. Somebody in chat asked about how long this particular Excel sheet took. It's a lot of lines. There's some 700 spells in D&D. How's this for a name? Somebody's being creative on that one. All right, that should be all the names, I think, in this list. All right. So now we need to go through and do this again. Fortunately, this is still set to do that. Let's see here. That needs to go in the spell builder somewhere. I can remember where. Here we go. Let's see here. That should do that. Now we actually have the name too. Okay, well we have spell books generating.
Hooray!
Magic circle against good. That's working right. Yeah, didn't break anything there. I'd really like to see somebody's name show up. Leoman's Tiny Hut. Works for me.
Hooray!
Okay, so that's pretty good for today. We've got spell books and staffs. Now, I wish it gave a little bit more information on the staffs, but it's complicated to represent the staffs in the current system, unfortunately. So we'll have to probably look at redesigning this system or coming up with a different system to try and do this. The injected or the data here is still useful. It'll still be useful in whatever context. So that's fine, especially since we're in the cases where I've got notes, Excel sheets. Oh, I understand what somebody was asking here. Somebody was asking why I was editing an open document. And the reason this is an open document is I started this document on my Linux machine. No other reason.
It makes more sense now. XComp is putting together things for D&D version 3.5. I believe he actually has a group of players local to where he's at that he's playing with. I'm trying to convince him to play games online so that I can play too.
I wouldn't mind, except I'd like to have a few more tools working for me that I don't have to do
Oh,
quite so
yes,
much.
don't... As long as it will happen eventually, I am pleased.
That would be fun. I actually look forward to doing something like that.
Yay!
Main concerns are always time.
Indeed.
Oh, Lyra, did you see the treasure that the party got from last week?
I did not see it, no.
This is actually kind of what started some of this. That I was generating treasure, and went, okay, I wish I could do these things, particularly the scrolls. This weapon was really hard to generate. It's a magical weapon here. I think it was a medium item. Yeah. Should note that somewhere.
But these are the scrolls in the weapon that they wound up getting?
This is what they wound up getting as their treasure. And it would have been nice if I could just say, okay, give me a minor item, and it would give me that. And I could have options to regenerate different things. But I didn't have those systems working. I could generate potions pretty easily.
What level are they?
They're currently level 10.
Not a bad haul then, especially with the boots.
Yeah. The Boots of Levitation are a minor wondrous item.
Indeed.
They're fun.
I'm sure.
They've given the boots now to the half-orc barbarian in the party.
So that he doesn't stomp down the hall and give them away every time?
No, so that he can float. And he actually used it this session.
Oh dear.
And I'm sure they'd really like it if they were boots of flying. Then the barbarian could fly around and kill things at range. But what they were doing is they're riding down the road, horseback riding, pell-mell, whatnot, down the road, and they're ambushed by a group of goblins and ogres, and actually a couple barbarian ogres, like 4th level barbarians, which were really quite below their level. It was a pretty throwaway fight. It's easy. But basically they're riding down the road, and Hakon goes, okay, I want to get off my horse, jump, and land in the middle of them. And I went, okay, well that's these rolls, but you have the boots of, or actually, he's talking about this, and at some point he goes, will the boots of levitate help me do this? And I go, you have the boots of levitate on, yeah. Then why don't you just levitate off your horse and land in the middle of them? That'll work. So he basically just levitated off the horse, kept his forward momentum, and then dropped in the middle of the goblins.
That'll do it.
And of course, one of his main abilities is he has cleave, and he can cleave forever, basically, because of his feats.
Oh my.
So basically, he just takes his weapon and swings around until everything's dead.
Balacard asks why you choose to run D&D instead of a different game like Shadowrun.
Well, for one thing, I'm familiar with D&D. That's pretty much the biggest thing. I like the rules for 3.5 in that they cover a lot of things, but still give you flexibility to do basically everything else. And you can rewrite any of the rules you like, anytime you like. You can do anything you wish with them. The main thing for me is role-playing games, all the rules are just kind of suggestions. They are the standard by which the game is played, but nowhere near necessarily how the game is played. And I will frequently come up with rules on the fly or rewrite things on the fly. And 3.5 actually gives me good abilities for that. Though I've not looked at Shadowrun, so I do not know, I can't compare.
It's my impression it's relatively similar, but the genre is very different.
I also kind of like the base